So again, we'll go ahead and just get started. Our agenda, we'll be talking about Spectra Detect, make sure we're on the same understanding. Talk about efficacy. Efficacy is our number one topic. We talk about, is this a good file? Is this a bad file? All decisions sprout from that, right? If I'm looking at a file and I don't know if it's malware, I don't know if it's goodware, I can't do anything with it. I have to stop and I have to figure that out first. So that's where we focused. We'll be talking about our new ICAP certification features and working with how we're implementing that. And then at the end, we'll be doing an operational demonstration, so you'll see an actual live demonstration of Detect. So in that case, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Michael. Okay, but first let's do this one thing. Why do we care about this, right? So volume, right? I mean, when we talk to our customers, they keep saying that they're seeing more and more files, right? Every user has massive access to files. Now you have data lakes. Now you have giant, as you start doing AI and start having large LLMs and all of these large, access to files, the number of records that were exposed is, again, another record this year. Nothing to be proud of, and yet another record. The number of CVEs, again, coming out, and the number of hours per month, companies spend doing, compliance. How much time is spent reconciling logs, to be able to build the reports, to be able to be compliant, to maintain your standards, to make sure your SOC 2 is in place, all of these things. So again, the problem is getting worse, and we see it is that you need to scan every file every day. And that's something that Spectra Detect can do for you. So in this case, now I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Michael.
Thank you, Stuart, and thanks everyone for joining. Again, the theme of this seminar, as Stuart mentioned, is about volume and scale. And Spectra Detect is our platform that allows us to ingest files from various sources within your organization, small, medium, or large. We can start small and grow as we go, and we can scale out to ingesting millions of files. We'll show that in the demo at the end of the webinar here. We connect to email, we connect to web ICAP traffic, we connect over the networks, various connections and APIs, API storage arrays, as well as various cloud vendors. We're able to connect to them to ingest files, and we keep adding to that connectivity. All of it is inclusive in our platform. It comes pre-packaged as such, and you can scale out with load balancing with the Spectra Detect platform. It's a grow-as-you-go model, and no opportunity here is small, medium, or large for this particular platform. On the right side of it is, okay, you bring these files in. The heart of Spectra Detect, we have Spectra Core, which we'll touch upon. It's our proprietary technology and our proprietary engine that allows us to have high efficacy and in a fast way inspect millions of files and give you a verdict on them. Once that occurs, you want to be able to move these reports either to a source, SIEM, an EDR, a sandbox to do static or dynamic analysis, or a TIP platform. We have the ability to generate these reports. And in our case, we'll also show how you pivot from Spectra Detect to Spectra Analyze, which is our analysis tool, heavily used by SOCs worldwide, that allows us to do more static analysis and dynamic analysis. In a nutshell, detect file-based threats wherever you need, small, medium, large. We can grow as your opportunity or the company grows with you. From an architectural perspective, in the way we scale and the way we ingest heavy volume of files, is we have an architecture that's situated for that from day one. It's evolved over the several years here at ReversingLabs. It's based on hub and worker architecture, and how many hubs and how many workers and what your ingest rates look like and how you grow it is something that we can help you size as you go. And we have some sizing guidelines on how to deploy it exactly for the opportunity you have in mind, with maybe some overhead for future growth of your data. The right side of it is the reports that you generate, in this case, connectivity in a secure fashion to Spectra Analyze, This is heavily used by our SOC center, by red teams, blue teams, among other teams that we may want to revisit what Spectra Detect is catching and what malware is hitting your organization, and what proactive actions and defensive measures you need to take into your organization, and feeds to SIEM, Sandbox, Source, and Tips, as I mentioned. Now, Spectra Intelligence, that's the box up on top, is also our something that we'll discuss also in this seminar. And this is what empowers and what hydrates our Spectra core, as well as Spectra Analyze, to be able to give you more information when you subscribe to it. We have a very great features about how you leverage that in our deployment. You will also need to deploy Spectra Detect Manager. You'll need that at least one instance per deployment to be able to manage it. And if you are clustered and siloed among DMZs or various geos, we can actually do that. This is a bit of example of a financial institution deployment at scale. It allows you to bring in files from whatever they may happen to reside in your organization, whether locally or from the cloud. We have load balancing architecture, and you're able to provision across your data center in various geo. In this case, there's 3 data centers in EMEA and 1 data center in APAC, and 3 in the US, 4 in the US. And if you are an organization with this large scales, we can certainly scale our architecture along with worker hub architecture per data center situated for your needs. And from there, you can move data seamlessly to Spectra Analyze as necessary for further analysis. And you will need Spectra Detect Manager. This could be central across all your data centers, or it could be per data center, depending on how you're organized and who's managing it. So from a Spectra Detect key value proposition, we are definitely not another scanner on the market with a single AV. That's not what we are. That's not what this platform is about, and that's not what you will get with this platform. We have tabled the magnificent 7 key features that helps you and your customer understand what this platform is all about. We delivered unmatched speed and scalability, as I have highlighted, that can process millions of files per day. We'll see a demo on it, and then towards the end of this webinar. You can start small, hundreds of thousands, and grow it as necessary and as your organizational needs require it. It's AI-driven engine inspection files in seconds. The second one is broader threat and file coverage. I mentioned where we have a proprietary Spectra core, which is ReversingLabs proprietary engine. We're by far the de facto standard within SOC analyst team, and looking at our engine's rules and looking at our engine's verdicts. And if we say it's a malware, they usually go and analyze it. They're not going to spend a lot of time on false positive and second guessing what our engine provides. We analyze almost 4,800 plus file formats, and we unpack them across various parent, child, and subchildren in order to be able to hash them and detect them properly. And we have a proprietary algorithm that we'll walk you through. It's called ReversingLabs hash algorithm, as well as the Yara rules, all embedded in a single platform. It's industry-leading object size analysis. We don't just stop at a file level. We go down to object levels, children, and we can decouple multi-complex files and thoroughly inspection for hidden scale. This is what differentiates one engine from another, one vendor from another. Most of it is proprietary per vendor, and some do it better than others. And I can attest that from a ReversingLabs technology perspective, we'll share with you enough information without going into a lot of details, because some of it is proprietary and some of it is patented technology. Flexible deployment, we have Spectra Detect and Spectra Analyze available in a cloud or on-prem, and it's scalable, as I mentioned. So whatever needs and whatever flavor you like to deploy it in, we have a package as such. And 5, we have centralized management. As I mentioned, you can centrally manage multiple instances, or you can break out that manageability into multiple pane of glass, depending on how you're organized and who's looking at what. We have integrated IARA rules, which we'll talk about end-to-end, that can complement and augment what our current Spectra Core engine gives you, what Spectra Analyze gives you in the cloud as well. So you'll be able to add your own rules. If you have rules given to you by your favorite AV vendor, you can also ingest them in here. Enhanced detection and automation is something we stand by. Improved certification reputation checks with the IARA rules, automated static decompositions, deep cloud analysis, which we'll discuss in a minute. It's a very important feature we have to give you that enhanced detection. And enterprise-grade integration and usability. This goes without saying, our API, hub and load balancers, go across various connectivity. Wherever you have to happen a repository of files, a storage array, or it's in the cloud, we'll be able to ingest it across VMware or Kubernetes, on-prem or hosted. So overall, you have a very comprehensive, very powerful platform, scalable from small to large, with high efficacy in our detection rate that allows you to give you that capability. Let's dig a little bit more now on high efficacy. What do we mean by it, and what's in Spectra Core? And more important, how do we achieve it? So if you look at some of the traditional AV solutions out there, a lot of these areas, some of them do some of them well, and some of them do a couple well, but not others. We happen to holistically look at all these various buckets that typically an AV engine wants to address, and we did all of them well with Spectra Core. And this is an attestament to how we resolved it. Whether it's about focusing on window threat only, but not others, whether it's you don't have zero-day capability, you don't have the error rule integrations. We looked at all these gaps and integrated them all and packaged them all in a very neat Spectra Detect solution powered by Spectra Core. If you want to dig into how we do it and why we claim high efficacy on our ReversingLabs Spectra Core engine, we ingest the file and we don't stop there. Many other vendors maybe do it. Some of them may go one layer deeper. We look at the file format and we look at various signature at a file level to begin with, and we apply machine learning models against that. The third thing we do is we unpack the file component down to its children and subchildren. We don't want to have anything within a file that you can, or somebody can embed anything malicious in it. So we unpack everything. Then we hash all the subcomponents of the unpacked file, and we catalog them for fast and quick lookup at a later point. We validate the structure, and then we go back and process that metadata. And from there on, there's a classification algorithm that kicks in and gives you that verdict that I mentioned. Once the SOC analyst sees our verdict, it will go with it more often than double guessing it. And these policies are applied across Spectra Assure, across Spectra Analyze, and they're given in this case with Spectra Detect in a quick and easy way to be able to hydrate that engine on the fly and be able to do that quick lookup without going through each process at a time for each file you upload. A lot of it is pre-catalog. If we have seen any children with malware in it, most likely it's a quick lookup that we can detect easily and give you a verdict on that file. And if we don't, we'll go through the whole step from A to Z, unpack it, catalog it for the next round, so you can get a better resolution out of it. We're always expanding our capabilities in ReversingLabs. So file type, we support over 4,800 and growing. Maximum file size processed, 100 gigabytes. And again, these files are growing over time, and we continue to keep up with these trends. File analyzed per days with scalable Spectra Detect architecture. We can do up to 20 million files a day if you want to be architected as such. in-depth decompression and complex objects. I mentioned how we unpack files and how we classify things in the background for easy lookup at a later point, whether it's an ISO file, a VM, an installer, and much more. And we're keeping up with all the new technologies for AI as well to be able to maintain, sustain, and keep this engine afloat to be used by all our malware analysis and threat intelligence platforms, and be able to provide, most importantly, a high efficacy, which is something we stand by to our customers. When I mentioned earlier that we have proprietary algorithm, one of the algorithms that we use is ReversingLabs hashing algorithm. And what we do there is we identify a functional similarity between files. And this can be not at a file level, but also at a children, subchildren in this case. We enable detection, polymorphic threats, and their variants. We intelligently hash these files, proprietary hashing algorithm we have for quick and easy lookups when you deploy Spectra Core within Spectra Detect. All this algorithms they come pre-orchestrated, pre-embedded, ready to be deployed on day one. And we give 4 precision levels for easy verdicts from a lookup perspective. This is proprietary algorithm. I can't go into more details on this, but it's something that we have, and that's what distinguish vendor A from vendor B from an efficacy perspective. Another thing we have in this platform, as I mentioned earlier, is Yara rule integration. We're very heavy and very thorough in developing Yara rule workflow for SOC analysts. We feel that despite the fact we have a very high efficacy engine, having your own Yara rules to complement what we have gives you better security, another layer of security. And you can certainly deploy some of these rules on the platform and see if they keep up with what we catch with ReversingLabs Spectra Core. It's always in sync with your Yara rule repositories and feeds. It's high-speed execution. And we have introduced and released 5.5 retro hunt enablement. This is exactly what some of the SOC analysts requested from us, is if I create a new Yara rule and I want to go backwards in time and test it on a data set, maybe in the past they were classified as good by some other AV engine, you can always go back, retro hunt, and apply that Yara rules backward in time and see if it's a good rule or you need to adjust it a little bit better to enhance its capabilities. So this is something our SOC analysts use very heavily. Another feature that we have in release 5.5 for Spectra Detect, and I touched upon it with Spectra Intelligence, is you can connect to our Spectra Intelligence using what we call deep cloud analysis directly from Spectra Detect platform. And deep cloud analysis, it leverages a high speed, and the way we do it is we unpack the files at Spectra Detect as it gets ingested. This allows us to be able to send a smaller object directly to the cloud. Spectra Intelligence is a cloud platform, and the process of sending it to that cloud becomes much easier when you have smaller files and a big, large file that's coming in and you're sending it directly to the cloud. It combines static analysis with enrichments, and this is where you get the best of 2 worlds. I've been saying we have Spectra Core as ReversingLabs engine. Now with this feature, deep cloud analysis, you get the best of 2 worlds, the best breed of engines, which is Spectra Core, and it's infused and enriched by 37 other AV engines in the cloud to give you that ultimate intelligent database and verdict that you're looking for. It delivers complete threat context. It eliminates gaps in coverage. It's fast, scalable, and precise. Let's take a look real quickly about how we do that from a deployment perspective. In this case, you have some email connectivity, maybe some cloud and storage array connectivity into Spectra Detect platform. We unpack the children. That's the first step that we do. We apply filters on what we want to send to the cloud. And then rather than going through the Spectra Detect workflow, sending it to Spectra Analyze, Detect, and applying it, we say, wait a minute, let me take another verdict on it. Let me see what others say about this. and I want to send these files directly to Deep Cloud Analysis. And from there, we do reputation lookups, and we give you back an analysis report that you can eventually store, save, and send to either Splunk, detection dashboards, or any EDR that may consume that data. Very powerful feature. It gives you the best of breed of multi-scanning along with ReversingLab technology. And that's why I say ReversingLab gets infused by enrichment by some of these other AV engines. So we work hand in hand with them, and we don't store these files in the cloud. So if it's sensitive information that you have, the entire file isn't shared because we decouple it into just the metadata objects, and we're only looking at metadata objects. Now, from another feature, which I will spend a little bit more time on this segment, that we introduced in Spectra Detect is our ICAP server. We feel this is a very important way of providing more security, leveraging this particular connector. So the reason you'd want to look into ICAP to begin with is and this information came from Verizon data breach. A lot of customers, enterprise customers, a lot of use cases out there about breaches that occurs over web downloads by an organization. And typically these vendors or the malware that is attached to it is very sneaky. It evades a single engine AV sometimes, and it gets the data out. And by the time the SOC team is engaged in it, they're doing basically discovery at that point in time to understand what happened and what they need to do to mitigate it moving forward. So rather than waiting until that opportunity happens, and rather than relying on just a firewall and endpoint scanner, we feel that we have a better, more robust solution that can help you overlay around your LAN network and around your organization security for web traffic. Now, some customers who are very sensitive to this kind of attack, they said, look, one way to do it is I don't have to deal with firewalls. I don't have to deal with AV engines. I'll just go air gap altogether. And that's fine if you can operate in that fashion. Large enterprise customers cannot. They still need their employees to do business-to-business transactions across the internet. And you need a layer of security more robust than a single AV engine or an endpoint engine that helps you protect web traffic. So we looked at this and we said, look, ICAP is a protocol that's been around for a while, since 2001. It takes HTTP or HTTPS traffic and breaks it into messages that you can attach services behind those messages to monitor, equate, or look at some web traffic. One of it is file downloads, and it comes hand in hand into how we perform scanning inline while things are being transmitted. So what organizations have done, and the way we look at it, is there's 3 use cases behind how ICAP works within an organization. The first one, we call it forward proxy deployment. This is ideal for organizations that says, look, any web content from my departments or from my employees, before I send them over to the firewall to the web, they're going to all be managed and they're going to all hit a proxy server. And then from there, we forward them. And behind that proxy server, usually there's a breakout in a ICAP connectivity that allows services like a scanning service to be attached to it. And if you want to attach multiple of them and manage more of them, that's one way to do it. You can also look at these files and say, maybe I want to back them up elsewhere. Backup service is another popular one. You can take it into a virtualized firewall and do other inspections on the traffic. A lot of benefits behind ICAP that can be deployed. In our case, we're looking at a way to intercept the file uploads and the file downloads to an organization, take that into messaged ICAP, and inspect them based on the technology I just highlighted earlier, not with a single AV scanner, but with the entire Spectra Detect platform. So the way we do that is we have an endpoint that can be many in your organization. Every employee has one. Every contractor that enters your organization have one. And they want to access the web on the left side of the screen across LAN from a firewall that you have set up in place. As I mentioned, all web traffic is going to hit an organization ICAP proxy server. In this case, is configured for forward proxy. And that particular message, and that particular user on that endpoint wants to download a file. Maybe it's an exe file that he wants to download from a very reputable website for that matter. And they want to download that application, install it on their endpoint. Well, before that happens, we intercept the file that is incoming from the internet, and we route it to ICAP server that lives on Spectra Detect. And Spectra Detect can go through the motions I mentioned before with our proprietary technology to scan the file, give you a quick verdict, and if it's malicious, based on the settings you apply to it, and we have a scaling range that I'll show in a demo, you can easily say, look, wait a minute, this file is suspicious or malicious, and I'm not gonna sit there and transmit it into my organization. I will hold it and let my SOC team come and analyze it further. And that's the power behind this solution, is you're getting high efficacy, a perimeter company-wide file download scanning before it hits your organization and before an employee installs it and accidentally detonates a malware in it that you have to go back and figure out what happened. A second use case for ICAP that we have discovered is also reverse proxy deployment. This is nothing new from a proxy server per se, but usually you have a proxy server sitting behind web servers, or maybe you're a service provider or managed service providers, and you're managing that portal that your end customers or partners or prospects come into your website to download certain information. So we want to be able to also scan any file uploads, not just downloads like the previous use case, to these servers. So you want to ensure that you put a PDF file for people to download worldwide. You want to ensure that PDF file doesn't have any malware embedded in it, and everybody else is downloading it at their end. So the workflow goes both ways: web traffic, file uploads, and file downloads. In this case, it's file uploads to an external web server that eventually get downloaded by millions if you happen to be a very popular web server. So the way we do it is, again, this is ICAP reverse proxy server in the center that lives in the organization. There are many vendors that supports it. F5 is one of them. And it lives right before a web server on the right. And I only want my admins to upload to that web server clean content, safe content for others to consume. And in this case, that request or that upload goes into the Spectra Detect platform. We have an ICAP server module embedded in there as a connectivity. We again go through the ReversingLabs, Spectra Core, Spectra Intelligence, scanning and unpacking and using our proprietary RHA technology to give you the quick verdict on the file. And if the file is great, green, safe content, go ahead and upload. If it's bad, we stop it and you take action upon it. The third use case for ICAP, this could also happen in one of your organizations or one of your customers, is, okay, I don't have, and I don't deal maybe with proxy servers per se, but I do have a lot of files in maybe legacy storage, or maybe they're block storage, or maybe they're in the cloud, and I want to be able to bring them in. I mentioned we have a variety through our hub architecture that we keep adding to. These are native APIs to select vendors that we can interact with. But ICAP comes as a convenient, because if you're going over a load balancer and you're moving these files, copying them from point A to point B in the cloud, you can also split that load balancer, and we're able to intercept these files and bring them in from a fan-in perspective. And that's how our customers sometimes are able to bring in to our platform many, many files from various sources without necessarily having to connect to each source natively. They cannot use ICAP as a de facto standard. A lot of these files do hit load balancers within the organization or in the cloud, and we're able to connect to it easily. The way it works is I may have multiple clients or multiple repositories. One of them on the left is in Amazon or GCP. The second one is a line of business in my organization. The third one is an external customer or partner. And I can set up an ICAP stream, assuming they have ICAP client living on a load balancer or a splitter that allows me to bring that traffic into Spectra Detect. And I don't need to reiterate again what Spectra Detect does, but by now you should know it's empowered by Spectra Intelligence and Spectra Core that gives you all the verdicts that you can easily take these files, scan them, and move them to a Spectra Analyze for further analysis to see what malware might be hitting your organization that you're not aware of. We work with and interoperate with several big ICAP proxy servers and load balancers on the market, whether it's Cisco, Citrix, Blue Coat, F5, among others. And if you have an opportunity, please feel free to reach out to us. No opportunity is small, large, or medium. We're able to size our platform accordingly to your needs in order to deploy these use cases. Setting up edge perimeter web attack traffic in addition to firewalling in a single AV on an endpoint or an EDR on an endpoint or an XDR on an endpoint, that is something that you must look into and figure out how to complement your customers with. It's a layer of defense that's unprecedented. It still allows for business-to-business continuity while having that extra layer of protection. I'm going to pause here and shift over to a demo to show you some of the features we have in our Spectra Detect platform. I have to say that this demo, and Stuart mentioned this earlier, it's a volume based on volume. So we want to set up an environment where we show you that we indeed can ingest heavy files. But this demo is pre-recorded, and I'll speak to it as we go. So I'm going to shift over to that recorded demo and play it out for you. So this is the UI that you will get from Spectra Detect if you're not familiar with it. And right off the bat, you can see that I've asked my engineering team to upload a lot of malware to it. We have over 1.15 million malicious files. You're going to see here that we added a little bit more filtering to what we've seen. You have a million of files. Obviously, you're not going to go inspect every file one at a time. So what this demo is showing is we have some filtering and classifications and other columns that we added that allows you to filter and maybe zoom in or hone in on one family of malware that you're interested in analyzing further. Nevertheless, if you look at the analytics side, Spectra Detect was able to catch in almost 1.15 million files, suspicious files 7.13, good word 695, and then there are 39 files worth of unknown. Now, this is not your typical enterprise environment per se, unless you're bringing in a bucket of malware, which is what I asked my engineering team to do. And in this case, if you have them all set up, that's why the malicious files is very high. But let me just speak a little bit about the 39 unknowns. These are files that are organically produced by your organization or by your customer's organization. So if I today pull an app like Excel and I create a quick Excel file and I save it, all of a sudden it's a brand new file as of now. And if I uploaded it to Spectra Detect has no knowledge of this file. It just says, look, I haven't seen it before. It could be good, but there might be a link that somebody may have embedded in it accidentally or intentionally that I'm not aware of. So I'm going to flag it as unknown. One way to do it is to go through deep cloud analysis, unpack that file, send it to deep cloud, and you get a verdict on it. So that's one powerful way of getting a clean verdict. If you're not clear on whether this is good or not good, we just call it a no. The other thing here on the display is the 31.88. This is the average file size that we brought in. So technically, this environment is very large. We scale it out as such to allows us to do it. It gives you more statistics on the type of files that came in, whether they're application files, media files, email attachment, etc. Now let me continue with the demo play, and you can see here that some of the files, the top files here classified are PE files, executables. So this is one of the top files that's within your organization in this pool of files you just uploaded. And we have a verdict here. A verdict here is 10. 10 is the highest risk score we have. So these files are very bad. You don't want them detonating anywhere near your organization. They're high risk, and usually some of them are caught by Yara rules. Some of them are caught in other methods. We show you in a quick way here the snippet of information. As you can see here, there's malicious files. You can click into it for more details. You can see the hash of it. And more importantly, and this is where I mentioned the best of two worlds, Spectra core engine, as well as multi-scan, powerful multi-scanning in the cloud with Spectra Intelligence. It tells you that 26 engines out of 37 engines in the cloud also detected this file in addition to us. And it gives you further information on it with some timeline. You can rescan it as of now and determine if that's still the case, or maybe more vendors hydrated their engines in the cloud and they are also up to speed with the rest of the community. If we look at this aspect of it, we can send this file directly to analyze, the Spectra Analyze. And this is another product in a math portfolio, malware analysis and threat hunting that we have. And it all happens in a secure fashion. Like, as I mentioned, this is a very dangerous malware at a high risk rating. So you don't want to move it nonchalante and without proper precautions. So when you click on this button, it automatically spins Spectra Analyze for you, and in a secure manner, it moved this file. This is yet another platform, and maybe it's a topic for another day that we can dig into, but it allows and has very powerful feature for SOC analysts to go into it. One of it is clicking on the sample, and you can get more details on this malware. So if you're not familiar with it, or you don't know much about it, or you not know much about that threat family before, there'll be a big write-up with a hash on it, as well as you can see here, this was caught how, analyzing results, network references, if any, and you'll be able to also conduct, rescan it and send it again for see if there's more engines in the community that caught it. In this case, 24 out of 29, and also it matched 19 Yara rules written against this particular threat. If you click on the top button there, you can have a little scroll down. You see which engine in the cloud caught it and which one didn't at that particular point in time. That doesn't mean the rest may not catch up, but that's the verdict at that point in time. You can come here to threat intelligence, this is Spectra Intelligence again, and look at the time it took, how many times it got rescanned, and traditional antivirus, again, some matching rules there. The verdict, the risk ratio, you can see here, we have a score 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, 5 is neutral, and anything below that is goodware, considered goodware with light green is with precaution. So if you happen to be an analyst or you're deploying maybe Spectra Detect against an ICAP, behind an ICAP, and you want to block certain files being downloaded from the internet, you can have a risk score rating and say anything above, anything that's reddish and above, I don't want to permit into my organization. And when it gets caught by Spectra Detect, you can always have your SOC team come and take a look at it. This tool or this platform, Spectra Analyze, can do static analysis, dynamic analysis, and you can actually detonate that particular file in a dynamic analysis fashion and see what the repercussions are. To continue with this, you can pivot back to Spectra Detect and look at other files or other group of files. I know this concludes my quick demo here, and I'll pause and see if there's any. Let me punt it over to Stuart real quick for other resources than what I saw when I showed here that allows you to
Okay.
go on the internet and view it. Go ahead, Stuart.
Thank you, Michael. So if you look here, what we have is we have some other resources that are available. So we have, again, we refer to the Verizon breach report quite heavily. We like it because it's technically neutral and covers a lot of data, and it actually covers things that actually happened rather than, surveys or, what do you think happened or what do you think is going to happen. The modern malware analysis and accelerating suspicious file triage white papers are there. It should be good reading. Again, how to write YARA rules and how to find 100+ YARA rules on GitHub. And again, looking at Spectra Detect. We have a couple questions in the chat, so I'd like to go ahead and ask you those if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead, Stuart.
Okay. So one question is about deployment. Is it possible to deploy this locally, and is it even possible to air gap this or, secure it in a one-way fashion?
Yes, so Spectra Core comes air gapped, and many air gap customers of ours like it because they can deploy it in an air gap. The way you will hydrate it is you will have to rehydrate that engine. There's methods to do it outside the air gap and bring those hydrated core back into the air gap and run the scanning accordingly. And that way you're 0 day, up to date, and you can manage that on a daily basis without necessarily opening up the internet to go fetch and connect to Spectra Intelligence.
All right, thank you. So talking about, okay, so Spectra Detect, detects malware. Is there, if all I want to do is delete it at that point, is that something?
Sorry, I repeat that question again. If you
So
want.
Spectre Detect detects the file's malware. We saw that was, this is malware.
Yeah.
Can I just delete the file at that point? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so those files are your files. And if you think that this is, you don't want to send them, say, for SOC team to look into to determine if it's a targeted attack on your organization or is it just a random file somebody downloaded and you don't care. From a platform, they can be deleted and you can rehydrate what you don't want on a daily basis. You can ingest more files and bring in other fresh files to it. So the file management is up to you. We typically don't delete anything in a platform. It's something that you need to manage on your own.
Okay. All right. And so last question I have here is, so the ICAP server does that support blocking and non-blocking?
Yes, that's a good question. We support both blocking and non-blocking. And that goes both for all the 3 use cases I described, the forward proxy, reverse proxy, and fan-ins.
Okay. And my understanding is that's towards, files in motion and files at rest, right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, those are the questions. If there's any more questions, could please put them in the chat. If there are no more questions, I think I will go ahead and say thank you very, very much, Michael. Really appreciate you coming. I know appreciate everybody attending. Again, this is a very technical subject. It's talking towards about doing large things, high scale, but if you're having a conversation about, how do I scan millions of files every day and do it almost automatically without requiring a lot of hands-on, Spectra Detect is something you may be very interested in. So I'd like to thank everybody for attending. I'd like to thank you, Michael. You're going to be at Black Hat. Please stop by our booth. We'd really great to see you there. And anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.